kids cardiac. Catch me in the Muni where the party at. Dog pound, turn up with the elf up on my starter cap. Brought him back, boy, we from the land and we proud of that. Louder man, front to the back, here we go, I got him shouting that. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go, Brownies. Game on the line, Joe Thomas, I promise. Jim Brown running through opponents, how I got this. I return like Josh Cripps. Hand for the mini, got the dog pound jumping. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go, Brownies. Let's go.
Cleveland! This is for you!
SOS, I could use a hero right about now. My faith in love is upside down. H-E-R-O, where will we all go? SOS, I could use a hero right about now. My faith in love is upside down. H-E-R-O, I crave a hero. I crave a hero.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the Here We Go Brownies podcast. I'm Allie Ellery coming at you live from Pensacola, Florida. Joining with me, as always, we've got Dustin out in Cleveland. But before we get into it, Mr. Hero, you just heard about him. Be sure to download their mobile app. You can get buy one, get one offers just for signing up. You can order food from the app. They have a bunch of rewards. Some really cool things. There's a ton of Northeast Ohio locations. The food's just really good. So be sure to check them out over at Mr. Hero. Dustin, how we living?
Living good. Also, guys, as you saw, you followed the instructions perfectly. I'll be giving away 3 family 4-packs this Friday to some folks. So get ready to get some free food from Mr. Heroes for the weekend. Allie, we're living good. Shador, little bit of tough luck today. Guardians are on fire. Here they come. Where did we see this coming from? I don't know, but Guardians are playing great. Things are good. The weather's nicer, by the way. Been a little warm, but now it's like 78 outside, which, by the way, I come from a state that's super hot, 110 in August. And I'm like, you know what? A little breeze off the lake, 80 degrees. I can live with that all day long, right? I can live with 80 degrees. Now, I know you are in the thick. Now, I told you this. I'm going out for the University of South Florida Boise State football game in Tampa. And I think I'm going to get a real dose of real humidity in late August in Florida. That's going to be something.
Yeah, it's going to be something if you're not used to it. It's a different down here. It really is. We've really adjusted to it and adapted, but I mean, we like it. At this point, it is what it is. And that Florida humidity, it's strong. It really is. A lot to talk about tonight.
Allie, you have straight hair. How do you deal with that in the humidity? Like, I just feel like it would just.
It's a nightmare. Yeah, it takes forever. But plenty to get into today. Obviously, we're going to unpack what we saw against the Panthers in preseason week 1. We'll talk about that. We're obviously going to look ahead to preseason week 2, what that looks like against the defending world champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. So we'll get to that. Of course, we are going to bring on Dr. David Ellery to the program here in just a little bit for the medical moment. He's got a bunch to talk about, unfortunately. So a big show for you tonight, but let's go ahead and just kind of kick things off, Dustin. Before we do, just a quick word from our friends over at Lady Caroline. Tell us about them.
Yeah, guys, Lady Caroline, the ship's getting full. Talked to them in the last couple of days. Join us September 6th, noon to 2. We're going to have Lake Erie Distillery there with great samples. Here we go, Brownies wine as well. Lots of prizes. By the way, 20% off. Use the code Brownies. It ends up being about $50 and includes lunch and Yacht Rock DJ. That's September 6th. So that's right before the Bengals-Browns kickoff game. That'll be taking off a little before noon to 2. So 2 hours out on Lake Erie, cruising around. I mean, you're going to be in town for the home opener, or if you live in Cleveland, come join us. It's going to be a lot of fun cocktails and food on a Saturday afternoon. I mean, that sounds pretty pleasant to me, right?
That's nice. While you're there, check out Greater Cleveland Aquarium. It's in a great building. It's really cool. Dustin was there live from the Shark Tank, some great exhibits. So while you're in town, family-friendly environment, head on over to Greater Cleveland Aquarium.
By the way, right next door. So you can do that all. You can do the boat over there, take the family. You can do it all right there.
whole thing. Can do it right then and there. So let's get into it. Let's unpack preseason week 1. Overall, pretty good. Got to see a lot. At the end of the day, I think it's important to remember this is practice. These are scrimmages. These are not really the offenses and defenses that you can expect to see week 1. And that's just so important to keep in mind, because I know so many people had so many comments, thoughts, things like that about play calling. And it's like, well, they're not. The whole point of preseason isn't to showcase, Tommy Reese and Kevin Stefanski. It's really to the preseason's designed, to get reps, to see what these guys can do. Is to showcase the skill set of the players. I mean, this is a trial period. Like the 4th down play call, they were in empty, and I know so many people had so many things to say about that. But it's like, well, yeah, you want to see if your offensive line can hold up in those situations. You want to see if Shedeur Sanders has what it takes to read the defense in that moment. I know Kevin Stefanski does that during the regular season sometimes, and it's kind of frustrating, but that's not the point of the season. Overall, I think that there was some good things. There were some opportunities, if you will. Some rookies looked like rookies, and then rookies also looked great in some moments. So overall, good situation. Browns come away with a win, 30-10. It was a lot of fun. This was a lot of fun to watch. It was nationally televised. It was just fun. It was good to have some hope back in Cleveland football. Dustin, I mean, your takeaways just kind of surface level here from that matchup.
So yeah, I changed my profile picture on Facebook to number 12 because I was like, this kid, this is his moment, right? If he's going to shine and at least show that he deserves an opportunity. And then someone said, well, that aged well, right? Because, sometimes you can put that out there and that doesn't age well. But I got to tell you, I've watched many Browns preseason games over the last decade, and I can think of a lot worse introductions to Browns rookies in a preseason game compared to what I saw. My first takeaway was the moment wasn't too big for Shedeur Sanders. And where I was more impressed with Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback, was his chance to catch up quickly to the game. And what I mean is in real game, he got better and better as the game went on, right? He didn't regress. He got better as it went on. And he didn't have happy feet in the pocket, right? People said he couldn't roll out and scramble and have that. Well, he showed all those things that everybody kind of slapped his hand and said he can't do those things. And I walked away the throw to Floria, right? Like where he just found a guy, and then that tight window between 2 to 3 defenders in the end zone. I'm like, okay, like he really took his opportunity and seized it. Was it an A+? No, because he did rookie things at times, which that's going to happen. But for me, I give him a B+ because from what I could see was a quarterback, the moment wasn't too big for him. He knew that he also, I think in his mind, had to perform and look good to keep getting more opportunities like this. And I think he was on the big stage. And to your point, for a preseason game, I think, I could be wrong, but someone said this was the most watched preseason game in the history of the National Football League. So there was a lot of eyeballs on this. And I mean, and Nike comes out with him, on their ads. I mean, it went viral like very quickly. LeBron James is tweeting. Deion Sanders finally, makes a comment. I was impressed. And obviously we're going to get into it with the doctor, but the setback obviously he had today in practice with the joint practice with the Eagles. But all in all, I can't wait to see more, I guess, at the end of the day. I'm excited to see more of what he has because I just feel mentally he's there. Physically, I feel like he's there. It's just he's just got to get more reps at the end of the day just to see what he has. Because I'm not ready to hand him over the starting job. I want to see more of these bodies of work going forward from Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what we expected the preseason to be is, it's a showcase of these young players. You want to see a lot of Shedeur Sanders. You want to see a lot of Dylan Gabriel, a lot of Kenny Pickett. Now, of course, we know that that's not going to be the case going into preseason week 2. Not going to see any Shedeur Sanders. You're not going to see any Kenny Pickett. So you're going to see a lot of Dylan Gabriel. And I think as fans, that's another exciting opportunity to see what he can do. I don't think anybody's rooting. At the end of the day, we're rooting for somebody to be good, for one of these quarterbacks to hit. So you can be disappointed. And I was listening to Cleveland Browns Daily. They were talking about this today. You can be disappointed that Shador Sanders had a setback. We all are, wishing him, well, and hopefully he can bounce back very quickly. But also excited to see what Dylan Gabriel has to offer. That's what the preseason is for, is to see these guys go out and showcase their skill set. So, but I agree with you. I think solid B plus performance. Other rookies, I think that Mason Graham, he had some moments that were really good. He faced a lot of double team. Carson Swessinger, really good performance. A couple of moments also where it was like, okay, welcome to the NFL kind of thing. And you're going to have that. Like, that's just how this is going to go. I was very impressed with Gage Larvadain. I think that he absolutely is looking at a roster spot. He's got a great opportunity to make this final 53-man roster.
He does.
Caden Davis also showed out. I was pretty impressed with some of these younger receivers. Now we know Luke Floria suffered an injury. He was placed on IR, and then he was away from IR, excuse me. But overall, like, it was fun. It was a fun game to watch. Defense looked pretty good. Offense looked pretty good. And it was like, wow, the Browns this is decent football. Not bad. Watch.
Yeah, and here's where I'll take this takeaway. We're like Pro Football Focus, and I think the ESPN, I think, had a little more accurate. Like Pro Football Focus had us ranked 32nd team in the league, and I'm like, there's way too much talent on this team to be the 30s. And then you had ESPN had 7 teams worse than us in the NFL, and I'm like, okay, well, that's actually more of a fair rating. Probably where this team is until they show more on the field. But what I took away from that game, I mean, there was a lot made of. We talked about this it was made of it on 92.3 of the Fan. They said, Shador Sanders did everything possible in this game to really showcase what he possibly can do. But the comments they were making was, don't take away from what we saw tonight on the defense. Because remember, these are the backups for the Browns. Mm-hmm. And if you have that as your backups and your starters aren't in, this could be a special type of defense. This could be one hell of a defense that, by the way, we're going to have to lean on this season as the offense catches up. Like, we might have something special like we did a few years ago, 1, 2, 3, top 5 type of defense. That's going to be something to be excited about. So that's where I think was really a good point. Like, hey, we all were talking about Shador, but that defense, those were all the backups in there, and they look damn good. Of course, some of those rookies will start, but I'm saying for the most part, those aren't the guys coming out, on the weekend. Yeah.
No, that's a good point. And not to take anything away from Shador Sanders, because he was so much fun to watch. He really was. But I mean, there was some other good things that happened too. Nathan Zagura had said today, he's like, this team going into this season, you can expect them to win based on their formula. We know what they're going to want to do offensively. We know that we're going to want to establish a heavy run game, play action, a lot of things like that. That's what we want to do offensively. Defensively, we're going to have to rely on this defense in a lot of moments. This isn't a team that's going to go out and win in a number of ways every single week. They're not going to one week go out and just have chunk play after chunk play, and then the next week it's just a defensive battle. Like, they're going to have a foundation, and that's how they'll win majority of their games. I would imagine. So with that, if we look at statistically what this defense did, I mean, they held. So let's just go through some of these stats here. The rushing attack, they held altogether the Carolina Panthers to 40 yards in total. That's pretty impressive on, I don't know how many snaps they had. I'll have to look. 7 or so defensive snaps, and to hold them to 40 rushing yards. Now, receiving is a different story. Now, I think there is some concern for our secondary. Now, obviously, we did not see Denzel Ward. We did not see Greg Newsome. We didn't expect to see him. The defensive backfield was a little bit suspect. They gave up 238 air yards, 1 touchdown. So that's got to get better. But I think we know that it will. But if we're just looking at kind of organically the pass rush, really just the front 7, and what they're able to do in stopping the run, and these are backups and rookies, you have to feel pretty good about that going into the season, because that's going to be the formula to win or even be competitive in some of these games in the front half of the schedule. Is your defense is going to have to show up. We know who Joe Flacco is. We expect him to be the starter. We kind of expect him to be able to manage this offense, but defensively is where it's really going to matter. And I think, if you're seeing this out of your rotational players, your second and third string, fourth string even, and rookies, you feel pretty good about that. I mean, let's go ahead, Dustin. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say also the fact you brought up Mason, Graham, he had some moments and showed the reason his skill set was drafted where we drafted him, right? You saw some flashes of that in the preseason game. We're like, okay, yeah, that's gonna look real good next to Myles Garrett in week 1, right? Speaking of that, just some fun commentary from the sidelines when Shedeur Sanders was talking to Myles Garrett, talking about him running around the field, and he goes, yeah, you wouldn't have got away from me. I just thought that was funny. He's like, yeah, you might have got away from him. He goes, you think that would have worked on you? He goes, no, bro, that would have never worked on me. So,
yes.
yeah. Fun stuff.
Really cool. I mean, just some guys defensively I'd like to highlight here. Obviously, Carson Schlesinger, he had a good performance when he was out there. Mason Graham, similarly. Aiden Huntington, I mean, he had a pretty decent performance. Six tackles on the day, 1 sack, 1 TFL, 2 QB hits. I mean, that's a pretty good situation there. Julian Okwara, he was another one that stood out to me that I was impressed by. Now, some guys that kind of struggled a little bit. Miles Harden, you want to see more out of him. I'm very curious to see what they do with their corner situation. I think we can expect Greg outside, Denzel outside, Cam Mitchell in the slot, but some of these things in the secondary is like, okay, let's see how. That's one thing I kind of have circled that I really want to keep an eye on. Now, turning it over to what the Browns did offensively. So Shedeur Sanders, he went 14 of 23 for 138, 2 touchdowns with a quarterback rating of 106.8. Tyler Huntley came in. He was 6 of 8 for 51 yards and 1 touchdown. The rushing attack, team total, 125 yards. Amani Marshall was the leading rusher, 8 carries for 32. Toa Tua, 5 for 30. Shedeur Sanders, he had 4 attempts for 19 yards, so he showcased that he can get out of the pocket a little bit and make some plays. Dylan Sampson, he only had 2 carries for 6 yards. Gage Larvadain had a little sweep action that counted as a rushing play, 1 carry for 4 yards. On the receiving side of things, Luke Floria, he had 1 catch for 30. Sal Cannella, 3 for 32. Caden Davis, 3 for 23. So, nothing outrageous here at all, but consistent. Some chunk plays were available, and that just goes to show what Shedeur was able to do. But 189 air yards for the Cleveland offense. Just a couple of things to highlight here. Brian asked, what if Dillon Gabriel lights it up? We can let's hope that he does. I think that's a really good problem to have. I think as fans, we should be hoping that every quarterback on this roster, given every opportunity, goes out and lights it up. But I think we're gonna see a lot of Dillon Gabriel, and I think that's a good thing. I really like this young quarterback battle. I think having Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel in the same quarterback room kind of ultimately competing for a starting job or for a roster spot here, but both just having immense talent. Shedeur Sanders, as we know, is the most accurate quarterback in college football, and Dillon Gabriel has the most touchdowns ever in college football because he played for 25 years. So it's and against very good competition. So I like the productivity. I'm just so curious to see how this translates, and hopefully it translates well. Even if one of these guys isn't the forever starter, if one of them's just a very solid career backup, hell yeah, we'll take that either for a third round pick or a fifth round pick. Sign me up for that.
Yeah, we talked offline to this, but I think this is kind of crazy in itself, but it just goes to show you players, veterans taking care of their body, all that stuff. So, I mean, we have 4 now banged up quarterbacks, one that wasn't even on our team, a week ago? And the 40-year-old veteran is the most healthy on this football team. And usually the older person you think would be, but Joe Flacco's a big guy. He's thick. He's tall. He's taking care of his body. He came off the couch and won his football games and took us to the playoffs. So interesting side note, though, because not that we're superstitious or anything, but the last time the Cleveland Browns scored 30 points in a preseason game, they made a playoff. So I thought that was very interesting. They said that this is the first time. But, it's true. I mean, Allie, I can't even remember the last time the Browns got 30 points in a football game, period. So it was kind of exciting to see offense on Friday night. It was fun to see actually some offensive drives that led into touchdowns. It was just fun. Again, that actually was fun to watch. And you bring up a great point. This is a good problem for the Browns to have because we went through a few seasons ago where we were rotating quarterbacks in because people were getting hurt. We have 4, right? It's a good problem to have. the cream will rise to the top. I think we're not shying out of telling everybody that Joe Flacco is probably your week 1 starter. And then guess what? Then it's a quarterback battle among these other 3 guys. And that's a good problem to have because you're probably not keeping 4 quarterbacks on your team. I'm sorry. Mary Kay and some others have made comments about that. I think we're going to try to get trade assets, and one of these guys is probably going to be dealt. I mean, it just makes sense. I don't know, Al. You tell me. I just don't see a world where 4 quarterbacks are on this football team week 1.
Well, we currently actually do have more than 4.
The 5, but I'm saying the 4 that we kind of.
Let's pull up. Yeah. I have the depth chart here. Currently listed on the depth chart, we have, where is quarterback? Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, Shador Sanders, Tyler Huntley, and Deshaun Watson.
Right.
So, look, they set the precedent last year of keeping 4 quarterbacks. I think that they will. And I think I really do. I don't know that at this point in time that any of the younger quarterbacks, really if any of these quarterbacks carry a ton of draft capital. Now, you might be able to, I mean, you spent a 5th round pick on Kenny Pickett. You're not probably going to get anything better than that at this point. He hasn't had or showcased anything this preseason so far. Like why would anybody do that? I don't think it's impossible. I just think it's more likely that right now the Browns are going to see what they have. And in a world where you don't have a defined long-term starter, you might as well see what you have with these guys that are all on cheap contracts. So I don't know. Right. That's the way I see it. I do think that they will keep 4 because they currently have 6. So, I
think they will get rid of 1 because just because these guys are all hurt now doesn't mean in the next couple of weeks they become healthy very quickly, right? So that's why I think all of a sudden, and for me, 4 quarterbacks on the team takes away from valuable depth at cornerback and other places where you may need some help.
Last year, who would you have wanted to have last year? Like if you're looking at the roster week 3 of last year with 4 quarterbacks on it, what's your big complaint? Probably.
My big complaint is we had 4 quarterbacks on our roster and we went with 3 wins. Because
that's a bigger issue though. It's not a 4 quarterback.
I'm just saying having 4 quarterbacks didn't help us because we had 3 wins. I guess it's kind of my caveat. Like it didn't really help us, at the end of the day. So it was like,
yeah. I don't know. All right. Let's bring David on. Quick word from our friends over at Lorella Vineyards.
Here we go, Brownies Nation. Larry Lorella from Lorella Vineyards. Dustin Cook from Here We Go Brownies. We're here to talk a little bit about Here We Go Brownies wine. Dustin, let us know.
That's right, guys. The season wasn't what we wanted it to be, but the wine is amazing. Platinum winning, award winning wine. Here We Go Brownies wine. Come get it here at the winery or go to lorellavineyards.com. And remember, a portion of every single one of these bottles goes to the Greater Cleveland Food Bank to help those that are in need and hungry. That's right. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go.
Woof, woof.
All right, let's bring him on. Dr. David Ullery. This is the Medical Moment brought to you by our friends over at Lorella Vineyards. Hi, David.
Hi, Allie. Hey, Dustin.
What's happening?
So David, I love you, but I don't want you to be the most popular guy every week because then that means we're talking injuries. But we got a lot to unpack today with, and I'm intrigued to hear what you have to talk about with oblique injuries because that's kind of a weird one because based on how it can heal or not heal. So I'm looking forward to that, and then obviously the other quarterbacks, where they're at in their process or where they may end up being before week 1. So.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, I wouldn't say I'm the most popular, but unfortunately, I have a lot to say. And as Browns fans, we're getting very unfortunately used to injuries and learning about new injuries too. I'm not sure there is an NFL injury that a Browns player hasn't sustained in the last 2 or 3 years that we've had to talk about. I mean, we have run the gambit from broken bones to sprains to dislocations and everything in between. So it's been a wild ride, but at least there's topics for me to discuss.
Plenty to talk about. Take it away.
Yeah.
What do you got?
So I'll kind of run through some lighter topics before we jump to kind of the elephant in the room. I mean, Greg Newsome has still been limited in practice. I know you kind of alluded to earlier, but he's had a shoulder injury. He's been nursing that they're kind of keeping him off of. It doesn't sound like it's super serious, and hopefully it's just more of a precaution. He's a veteran. He knows his way around the field, and so it may just be making sure he's ready for week 1. We know Mike Woods was waived with a hand injury, but they're anticipating probably re-signing him at some point, especially because the wide receiver depth is so shallow. We know Pickett has a hamstring injury that he's still dealing with. He was a participant in the 7-on-7 drills today, but not in 11-on-11. So while he is practicing, he is not full go. So we don't expect to see him this weekend for the preseason game. And it is a little concerning for him just because he hasn't had a lot of time with the Browns running full 11-on-11 drills and practices. And while he is obviously a bit more experienced in this league than the rookies, need to see something out of him and make sure that he can make this roster and be a participant or be a trade option. So hopefully, he's really kind of come back, especially after this next weekend, and be a full participant and back to full health. Luke Florio was waived. I know we talked about that a little bit and you brought that up, but essentially it's kind of an interesting situation. He was waived on Monday, cleared the waivers, and then reverted to their IR. But then today again, he was waived after receiving an undisclosed injury settlement. And so that doesn't mean that he's going to be done with the Browns forever. But essentially, he is kind of in this limbo period, and it depends on what the settlement was. So currently, they do not own his rights, so he could sign with another team. But sometimes there's that gentleman's agreement or that unwritten rule that says like, hey, we want you here, so let's just kind of sit tight until the settlement goes through. Just as an example, depending on what the settlement is, it really dictates when he can be back on the team. In this article from the News Herald, they say that if his settlement was for 5 weeks, he could be re-signed by the Browns after the 8th week of the season. Essentially, the NFL has this rule where 3 weeks are tacked onto the length of any settlement just to discourage teams from manipulating the IR list. So it's kind of an interesting rule, kind of an interesting way to protect players as well as other teams. But just because he was waived again and reached a settlement doesn't mean that he won't be back in a Browns uniform. But at the very least, it won't be until October probably. So we'll see what happens with that based on how he heals and recovers from his hamstring injury. Diabate did not practice on Monday due to an undisclosed injury. I'm not sure about his status from today. Similarly, Pierre Strong Jr. was limited in practice on Monday for an undisclosed injury, but he is at least practicing. And then Dylan Gabriel, another hamstring injury, but was a full participant for the second day in a row. So it's looking like more and more likely that he's going to get the nod this weekend, especially with what happened with Shador. And we'll segue right into Shador. So we know that he sustained an oblique strain today, currently listed as day-to-day on the injury report. And I mean, not an insignificant injury. I mean, the obliques are part of the abdominal muscles, part of the ab muscles that are on the side. So they connect your lowest ribs down to your pelvis. And so their mechanism is trunk rotation. So being able to turn from side to side. So, think about important muscles for obviously quarterbacks to generate torque, to throw the ball a far distance and get some velocity behind it. Important for cornerbacks to turn and run with wide receivers. And then other sports, golfers definitely use these quite a bit. Definitely important in like hockey sports too. And so these can be pretty debilitating, but be short-lived. It's a soft tissue injury, but if you've ever strained an abdominal muscle or even a muscle between your ribs, like, it can take your breath away and hurt. Funny story, 2 years ago on the golf course, I was teeing off and Allie was back on the golf cart talking to her mom real quick, and she was looking away and then looked back and I'm on the ground, and she thought I was mad because I had a bad shot. No, I pulled a muscle between my ribs during the swing, and it was like I got stabbed. It was an awful pain. And so that's probably something similar to what Shador is feeling. And of course it was right before a golf trip to Ireland, which didn't work out great, but we still
do
played.
have a picture of that, of you just rolling around on the tee box somewhere out there.
It hurts. And so
I can see Allie going, what is happening over there right now?
Well, because I looked up and I'm like, oh, he's just mad because I thought you were mad because you had a bad shot and you were just being dramatic because there was nobody on the course. No. So I thought you were just being dramatic because you do that sometimes. And nope, you hurt.
Nope. It was an injury. So I can commiserate a little bit with Shador in terms of like what that feels like. And so he's day to day. Think about it. Like, quarterbacks don't use just arm strength to be able to throw the ball 40, 50, 60 yards down the field. You got to get your hips into it. You got to get your abdominals into it. Think about, who was it? It was Dak's warmups that went viral a couple of years ago with the way he's twisting his hips in the pregame warmups. And so, it's a very important muscle group for quarterbacks, and it's going to take some TLC to get this to heal. It can be like any other soft tissue injury, hamstring injury, biceps, things where if you don't treat it appropriately, it can linger and have a more long-term effect, not career-wise, but just season-wise. And so because he had such a good showing last weekend. I think they're going to take a lot of precaution with it and just let him heal, let him recover. This is an injury that Derek Carr sustained last season. He missed 3 games. It was like week 6 through 8 or something. So early on in the season, but he also had an oblique strain that caused him to miss 3 games. And so even mid-season, veteran quarterbacks, if they have this injury, they definitely take their time with it to make sure it heals. Now, once it heals, it shouldn't be an issue long term. There shouldn't be any anticipated surgery. I figure he probably will get an MRI if he hasn't already, just to evaluate the severity of it. But for all intents and purposes, I mean, he should be fully recovered by week 1. But we're probably going to see him fairly limited the next couple weeks in practice, just because they want him to be available later in the season if they need him, in case, God forbid, someone else gets hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, do you think it's possible though that like it could be something that's maybe just a week or so? Could it be something minor like that?
Yeah, I definitely think so. A lot of it, just like with an ankle or a hamstring, depends on the severity and the grade of it. And so the MRI will be important to fully determine that, because the MRI, what they're looking for is when you have a strain or a tear of muscle, fluid gets accumulated in that tissue, and the amount of fluid, as well as if the tissue is fully torn, will dictate how severe it is. And so the MRI really helps to classify it. And so there's absolutely a reality, excuse me, where this is just a 1 week kind of ice it, let it heal, get back to it after a week sort of injury. But obviously he felt it enough today that they stopped him from practicing. So I can't give a hard and fast prediction or return timeline. I would say the best estimate is anywhere from probably 1 to 3 weeks in terms of returning to full recovery. So not the worst case scenario, but certainly for a rookie who's kind of starting to catch some steam and get his legs underneath him, it's not the best of things.
Yeah, quick question along those lines. Do you think because he's young, is he going to heal faster on something like that? You know, from a strain like that versus somebody that's older? Do you think that plays any part in that, David?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think with any injury, oh my goodness, I am so sorry. Do not do that. With any injury, oh my gosh, Rudy, come here. Come here. With any injury, whether it's bones, fractures, soft tissue, a younger individual has a better healing potential, a better healing chance, even if they are a full-grown adult like Shedeur. So yes, he's going to have a quicker time to heal, a quicker time to recover, and I think we can expect, like if Joe sustained this injury, he would probably be out longer than what Shedeur is going to be out for, just based on age, healing time, recovery, mechanics, biology, all those things. Yeah, I think we can be very optimistic about his ability to return. And then to answer the question about re-injury that was just posted, I don't have a great number or statistics to kind of say what the injury is after an oblique strain might be, what the re-injury rate is. Here, a quick search says, at least for baseball players, which I know isn't exactly football, but it can be up to 12% within the same season. So, I mean, it's not like it's it's 1 in 10, essentially. Maybe less so for the NFL, but I don't have great data on that. But either way, I think it's a pretty low percentage, under 20% chance once he's healed of re-injuring it throughout the season. So I wouldn't expect it to be a huge concern once he's back to 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. You brought up a baseball stat, but I mean, baseball games are every single day, right? And you're swinging that bat in the batter's box. So there's a lot more, I would think, on your obliques area that you're going to use that multiple times a week, even. So.
Yeah. And the nice thing is, for a quarterback in your recovery and kind of your ramping back up to practice and playing, you don't have to be throwing 40-yard bombs every single play. So he can come in and still hand off. He can drop back. He can throw, quicker sets. And so it's not that he's going to be completely limited and not able to practice at all once he starts feeling better. They can ease him into it before calling, bigger downfield throws that might put him at a higher risk of re-injuring it.
So, it just is interesting, how many soft tissue injuries have already happened. This has already been a huge concern over the past couple of years, that consistently, this team is suffering, extended or players are suffering just injuries that are putting them out for several weeks. And it sucks. Hamstrings, now oblique, of course, season ending things, Achilles, things like that. But, why? Is this just, I feel like this is just a Browns thing, and maybe that's just because we cover this team, we're so plugged in everything, but I just, David, we are very plugged into the Lions too. This isn't something that's happening as consistently as it does for this Browns team. Why?
Yeah, I mean,
And not that
you're exactly
you have the answer and the solution here, but like just to kind of keep the conversation going, like it's interesting, it's weird, and I don't understand.
Yep. I think it's a combination of both things, kind of like you alluded to. I think because we are, so plugged in and focused on the Browns, we're definitely much more hyper aware of all of their injuries, and it definitely maybe kind of feels like that burden is more compared to other teams. But you're right. I mean, we follow the Lions pretty closely too, and it certainly doesn't seem like they have nearly as many injuries as the Browns do. Now, I'm just kind of pulling up their injury report from camp just to kind of see and compare. And I mean, lots of undisclosed things, but we see like there's a hamstring for Terrion Arnold. We know that he ended up returning, but then Ennis Rakestraw had an injury that he had to have surgery for his shoulder. I think he had a labrum tear. But still, like going through this, I don't see hamstring after hamstring. I don't see oblique after oblique. I don't see Achilles tear. I don't see biceps tear. And so it does feel like it seems to happen a little bit more in Cleveland right now. And I don't know if it's just a string of bad luck and the Lake Erie curse just kind of rearing its ugly head and focusing on Northeast Ohio rather than Buffalo and Detroit. But it's very frustrating, both for fans and team and players alike. And you have to hope at some point it's going to end. I think no, I'm not even going to say it. Nope, not going to say it because I don't want to make things worse. We know that 2 years ago was very, very bad. But it seems like that run, that string of injuries is continuing, and you got to hope at some point that it ends.
Well, and here's a tidbit too, from being at training camp and stuff and talking to the experts and visually seeing it. They said this is one of the most physical camps they've seen from Stefanski and the Browns, and for as long as they can remember this early in camp, tackling to the ground, like those types of things are happening in this camp. It's a very physical camp. Well, when you're more physical, injuries happen, right? I mean, that's just the nature of the beast, but it is true. These camps have been a lot more physical. And I can say that based on other camps I've been to. It's been a physical camp.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I bet that contributes for sure, but that's not by mistake that it is more physical. It clearly seems, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like last or maybe a year or two ago, we were kind of complaining about the preseason and what Kevin Stefanski wanted to do. It wasn't physical enough. And now we're having the conversation of, it's too physical. I mean, what is the line?
Yeah.
What's the balance?
I don't. That's a great question, and unfortunately, I don't know if anybody really has that answer. But I think you have to, I guess, look at it from that lens and realize and recognize and understand that you're right. A couple years ago, the complaint was it's not physical enough. They're not ready for games, and now is it too physical? And I think, even though working in medicine and being a surgeon, I still like the aggression and being more physical because I think it's going to prepare the team better. It's going to make them more resilient. And a lot of these injuries are short-term injuries. And obviously, we know we've had some season-ending ones, but if we can get more of the injuries out of the way now, and then these guys are back week 2 or 3, and then they have a longer, healthier season, maybe that makes the team more resilient. And it's kind of an active experiment that we're going to be witnessing as the season continues. And again, I think just bad luck plays a large role in this too. And it feels like it likes to pile on.
Well, you're right. As I say, every season there are teams that just get riddled with injuries, and then some get a free pass and get lucky all season. Allie, we talked about this 2 or 3 years ago. Remember, the Ravens were decimated with injuries, and they were still winning games. but
Yeah.
And then,
by the way,
yeah. So, but it's crazy. Like some teams just get lucky. To your point, it's just sometimes it's just bad luck or good luck because you can be as physical or not as physical. But even Angel said, it's true. Campbell runs a physical camp in Detroit too, so he's a pretty physical guy too when it comes to training camp. So yeah, I don't know. It's crazy that other than what unfortunately happened to Martin Emerson season ender, most of this bug has been with the quarterbacks of all things. That's where the real, where it's just crazy to me that this many quarterbacks are getting hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real quick before we move on to the quarterback conversation with David here, quick shout out to our friends over at Stadium Mustard. Guys, if you don't have Stadium Mustard in your kitchen this season, you are doing it wrong. The iconic brand, the iconic taste, full of from ballparks to backyards and everywhere in between. Stadium Mustard is a smooth brown mustard rich in both taste and tradition. By the way, loved by millions. Be sure to head on over to stadiummustard.com to shop now. And if you were looking for your official Here We Go Brownies podcast t-shirt, hats, what have you, head on over to We Bleed Ohio Apparel. They can make some really cool football designs, baseball designs, basketball designs. They do it right. So check them out over at We Bleed Ohio. David, let's just talk about the quarterback situation. I want to loop you into, the football conversation here. We can kind of put that other conversation to the side, but I just want to get your perspective on, looking ahead to the Eagles and seeing Dillon Gabriel and also looking back on Shedeur Sanders. I mean, paint the picture. What did you think from preseason week 1?
I was very, very excited and happy with what we saw out of Shedeur. It was very encouraging to see him have some poise and confidence in the pocket and to make mostly good decisions. And obviously, we know there are a couple plays where he kind of started running backwards and kept flipping and flopping and running backwards. And we know against ones in the regular season, it's probably not going to be something he can sustainably do and survive. But I think this is the time to do it. This is the time to get those mistakes out, to get rid of those foolish decisions and learn from it. So as long as he shows that he's learning from that and not making those decisions again, and that he's coachable and teachable, I think that it's a very promising outlook. I think he showed incredible accuracy, some creativity, and I think it's a lot of, you said it earlier in the show, there's a lot of optimism after seeing that performance. And so just as Dustin said, I mean, we're not ready to hand over the starting role to him, but it's a great step forward, and I think exactly what Browns fans wanted and needed to see out of him in the first preseason game. And just as you said, Ali, it's disappointing that he's not going to be available for week 2, but now we get a chance to see the other rookie, because we know that it's a weird situation where the Browns drafted 2 rookie quarterbacks on late in the draft. I mean, it's not normal, it's abnormal. And so it's a great opportunity to now see Dillon, his performance as a starting quarterback in a preseason game, and see what he can pull off and do. So I really do think if you look at it from that perspective, and that it's an opportunity for these guys to show what they can do and show that they are making progress as an NFL quarterback, I think it's a very good thing. And we just have to hope that the injury isn't a huge setback for Shedeur otherwise. It is crazy to think that there's 6 quarterbacks on the roster, and only 2 of them are actually healthy. But we know that Joe's going to be the starter week 1. I don't think there's any question about that. And so it'll be fun to see what Dillon does. I'm excited about that.
Dustin, turning it over to you. What are you, last week we were talking about what we're looking forward to seeing out of Shedeur Sanders. What are you looking forward to seeing out of Dillon Gabriel against the Eagles?
Well, first and foremost, he's looked decent in camp, and then he's looked bad in camp. So I think this is going to be an opportunity, just like Shedeur had, to showcase his talents in a preseason NFL football game, right? So it's kind of like an interesting perspective that we're going to have as 2 dress rehearsals from our rookie quarterbacks against teams on the road to see what they have made of them, right? And I think I'm most excited just to see what he's made of, right? I mean, we did take him ahead of Shedeur for obvious reasons, right? And there's a reason we picked Shedeur Sanders. There's some alternating stories why we picked him, who picked him, but we have 2 rookie quarterbacks on this roster, and this will give him an opportunity to showcase just like Shedeur. So I look forward to seeing what he can bring to the table. I'm assuming Huntley will probably go the back half of this game if Dillon Gabriel is healthy enough, and then that'll be it. And then I don't know what the hell the Browns are going to do in the 3rd game. I mean, it's going to be a home game. I can tell you the fans here in Cleveland are going to be clamoring to see more Shedeur Sanders in that 3rd game. If he's healthy, right, they're going to want to see that guy out in Cleveland in a uniform. I'm excited to see that. But again, to your point, David, it's how healthy he is, right? He may not be ready to go in that week 3 game. So I'm just looking forward to seeing another quarterback showcase. And by the way, to Al, your point, it's a good problem to have that we haven't figured out who our backup quarterback is. That means our starter's good enough to go, right? So it's like, this is a good problem to have as a Cleveland Brown versus, a worrisome, like we don't know if we're going to be able to even put a starter out there.
Yeah, I'm look for me. We talked about last week. We were talking about looking for poise out of Shador, accuracy, short and intermediate, just accuracy, and I think we got that. Now out of Dylan Gabriel, I want to see the same things. I want to see a short memory out of him. Also, you're going to make rookie mistakes. You're going to potentially turn the ball over in some of these settings. Again, these are practices. These are just scrimmages, just being able to see what they can do. But at the end of the day, Dylan Gabriel has had more opportunities to go with the ones more so than Shador Sanders. So, has he developed any kind of chemistry? I want to see some of the short to intermediate stuff that he can do. I do want to see his deep ball. I think that Dylan Gabriel, when we go back on all of his college tape, he was an accurate quarterback. He could easily escape the pocket. He's very shifty. He is mobile. I'd like to see a little bit of that. We don't get a ton of that out of Shador because that's not the player that he is.
Correct.
I think that Dylan Gabriel does kind of fit what Kevin wants to do offensively, kind of in a different way than what Shador does. So curious to see what that looks like and what the game plan looks like around Dylan Gabriel. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I'm expecting mistakes out of these rookie players, but also expecting a short memory. I think that's really important, especially at the quarterback position. Defensively, or maybe not necessarily defensively, but just turning it over to other aspects of this team. Is there any other position groups that you're looking forward to, or any other position battles, if you will, against this Eagles team? Dustin, I'll start with you. That you kind of have circled that you're like, okay, I'm really going to dial into this. I want to see how this develops.
Yeah, I want to see how if Fanning gets some looks in this game, obviously being a rookie, and some of the other tight ends, because obviously we know Njoku's a starter, but I kind of want to see that position. I'm excited to watch that position and see how that unfolds, because I do think we're going to be, because of the wide receiver room being 10, I think we're going to see some 2 tight end sets a lot, and quite a few packages like that. So I'm going to watch the tight end position in this game to see how that develops and how that kind of works out. And I think, Jason, you bring up a really good point. The kicking situation, I'm going to keep an eye on that too. You got to win in all 3 phases: offense, defense, and special teams. You got to win in all 3 phases of the game. So I'll be watching, things that should be somewhat easy, 3 points and 1 points in games if they're close. So Allie's shaking her head, but no, those are the things I'm looking forward to. And honestly, again, Grant, I want to see again that progression of our first round pick, right? Is he getting even better and quicker and smarter in live games, because he's going to be the guy, right? We don't draft him at number 5 to not be the guy. So I'm looking forward to that on the defensive side of the ball, especially in this game.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that we'll get to see a little bit more out of Dylan Sampson. We didn't see a ton out of him week 1, would like to see more there. Really curious too in terms of the offensive line. Who are we rolling out with? Who is the starters in this game? But I thought Luke Whippler had a great performance. Curious to see how that continues. But really, Dylan Sampson, I've kind of got that highlighted. When we're talking about receivers, don't really know who we're going to see out there a lot. A lot of this is just kind of speculation, but just kind of keeping it to rookies and things like that here. I mean, I'm really interested in continuing to keep an eye on Carson Swessinger. He's really impressed me in everything that I've seen from training camp. Of course, some great plays against the Panthers. Of course, some welcome to the NFL moments, but I would imagine that he's going to rebound nicely and bounce back, and excited to see how he progresses. But you're right. I mean, outside of Mason Graham, Harold Fannin Jr., he's a big one that a lot of fans want to get eyes on. But as I mentioned earlier in the show, curious about what they do with the secondary. Wasn't really ultra impressed there. Had some struggles out of Harden. Curious to see if they move anybody around, what that looks like. David, what do you kind of have circled here?
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going to go, is who's going to step up in the secondary, especially when we know Greg Newsome's still dealing with an injury, and when we have more of the longer term injuries that have unfortunately transpired recently with Martin Emerson Jr. And so there's still an opportunity, I think, even after the end of the 3rd week before we go into the regular season, that they pick someone up, veteran, to kind of bolster the defensive backfield. Sorry about Ludo. we look at available free agents. Still, Asante Samuel Jr. is at the top of the list. Stephon Gilmore, Russell Douglas, Eli Apple is available again now. But so there's definitely some options if Greg Newsome is going to be a lingering shoulder problem and without Martin Emerson Jr. So that's a big one for me, just to see who's going to step up and if they move things around, if they're going to go into more like 5 defensive back sets, just to kind of see who's going to play and who's going to step up. Obviously, that's more situational football, but base is still with 3 linebackers. But I'm very curious about that. And then, I mean, you guys already touched on it, but I think looking at Mason Graham is going to be very exciting. It sounded like he had a monster practice today in the joint practice and was really disrupting the Eagles. And so those are the 2 position groups I'm looking for.
All right. Well, David, great talking to you. We're going to kick you off now. Go handle Ludo. He's losing his mind. But that's the medical moment. Always great talking to you, David.
David's going to go take care of the dog pound.
My goodness. My goodness. All right. Go Browns.
Thanks, Go Browns.
Go Browns.
Let me tell you, it is so difficult sometimes. I work from home and I'm on my computer in meetings all day, and there is not a place that you can go in this house sometimes with those dogs. They're either barking and screaming or playing with a toy. I have found that the quietest place in this house, Dustin, is to go in my car. I will go sit in the garage in my car and take a meeting sometimes, not because they're like so badly. It's just like they'll go play or something.
Okay. Do you have? Is it an air controlled garage? Does it get hot in there?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'll like open the garage door and turn my car on and just like be in my car sometimes.
Okay, because I'm like, to me that would be like a hot box in your garage.
In Florida, it's absolutely wicked. But it's not just that they're barking. It's sometimes they're playing with a squeaky toy or something, or sometimes I just don't want to hear them when I'm on a call. So
I know Todd Blocker that does the Xenia Browns backers. Yeah. I'll call him, and literally 2 minutes in the call, I hear this that squeaky thing just going off them. And I'm like, does your dog just start? He goes, yeah, it knows I'm talking to somebody and I'm not giving it attention. So they're playing with their squeaker to give the attention. I was like, okay, that does make sense.
Yeah, it's chaos sometimes. Real quick, what I tell you about our friends over at City Barbecue. You have lunch, dinner here, head on over to City Barbecue. They have award-winning meats, sausage, sides. They do it all. They can also cater your events. If you've got a corporate event or maybe a shower or something like that, family reunion even, you can give them a call over at City Barbecue. They will cater that event for you. Really great people, really great food. Also, real quick, Dustin, why don't you tell our listeners about Primetime?
Yeah, Primetime Sports Framing. By the way, they were actually just in Indianapolis visiting with the Fever and got some great autographs with Sophie Cunningham. So if you want some of those cool autographs from the WNBA players, look for those. But also, guys, look forward to round 2 of some Browns alumni that they're going to bring in for a big signing. Look on our socials for that. We're going to bring some live coverage probably from that, but look forward to that. Another round of some Browns legends coming and doing another signing before the kickoff of the season. So look forward to that.
Also, very quickly, our friends over at True Fan Travel, think of them as an ultimate sports road trip buddy, all about bringing you closer to the heart-pounding action of your favorite away games, whether you're cheering from the stands or soaking in the local vibes. They make sure that every trip is packed with those I was there moments. Grab your gear, make some memories with True Fan Travel.
Yeah, and remember, guys, code Brownies, $100 off for your trip to Vegas or London. Just use the code Brownies for $100 off.
$100 off. There you go. There you have it. The other thing to talk about is the recent news about Myles Garrett. He was cited for speeding again. I mean, look, it's not great. It's not something that you want to see. It's not a good news report by any stretch of the imagination. It's certainly dangerous speed at a late hour, obviously. But I think the biggest concern is this is not the first time. This is something that has been kind of a recurring issue and also has resulted in a fairly serious accident. So it's just not something you want to see out of, one of the leaders of your team.
So I got 2 things to say on this. First of all, it's the second incident of somebody getting a speeding ticket near Strongsville. I live in Cleveland now. You don't speed through Strongsville. That's just, I'm just saying there are pockets around here where it's like you're going to get popped if you speed there. Now, I love Myles Garrett. It was a late flight back home from Carolina. He probably just wanted to get home, get some rest, see his dog, and go night-night because they had another meeting, I believe, at noon the next day. They were back at a team meeting. He wanted to get some sleep. But 100 is 100 still, right? And I'll be the first to say I've had a lead foot at times, but you don't speed in Strongsville. So my PSA announcement is if you live in Cleveland, if you're a citizen or a football player, don't speed near Strongsville. You're going to get a ticket. Shedeur Sanders got not one, but two, and Myles Garrett's got one. So guess what? I'm sure there's also citizens that get tickets there all the time, and we don't hear about it. So again, don't speed in Strongsville.
And of course, this makes the news, obviously, because this is like his 7th ticket over. I mean, kind of excessive speed, if you will.
Thank you, Angel. That's a perfect thing you put there.
It is. It is a speed trap. I mean, I have plenty of areas here, even in Pensacola or where I grew up. Like, okay, I know that when I'm driving in this area, I've got to be right at the speed limit because they'll get you. They will get you. So yes, those speed traps kind of do exist, but this isn't just especially after signing a huge contract. Jimmy Haslam did say we want to see Myles Garrett as a leader. Kind of disheartening, disappointing to see that, but just thankful that everybody's okay and he had to pay a ticket and that's kind of the end of it. But hopefully at some point, enough's enough. Let's be safe. We already saw a serious accident. Would never want to see anybody get hurt, injured, or worse, of course. So, but yeah, that's really all I have on that. Not really a huge story, but certainly something to mention.
Well, of course, anytime any player in the NFL, especially Myles Garrett, Shedeur Sanders, gets a speeding ticket. I mean, here's the truth. If that was 75 and a 60, if that was 80 and a 60, it may not even make the news. But 100 and a 60, that's going to make the news.
That might do it. What else do you have, Dustin? Anything else Browns related that we missed?
Nope. Unfortunately, the Guardians are losing right now. They've been on a hot streak. They are down 4-1. But by the way, it's only the bottom of the 4th. And by the way, I'd like to just give a shout out to Manzardo from Idaho. Had 2 home runs yesterday. He continues to be red hot for the Guardians, along with Hosey getting 2 home runs yesterday. He now, just this team with what they have, I just blows me away that they still can outperform what they have. Like this team just always gets it done. I think they're a game out of first, or not a game out of first place, a game out of the wild card hunt, and still within 5 games of the Detroit Tigers. Hang on. Gabriel just homers. The game is tied 4-4, just like that. And the Guardians are back in the game. There it is.
Let's look at it.
So there it is. I give a live update. 4-4. Boom. We're right back. So
there you go. There you have it. I think that's it in terms of anything Cleveland related at this current moment. I'm sure as soon as we get off this podcast, something's going to happen. Some news will break because that's just the way it always goes. But just one thing to keep in mind, as we go into preseason week 2, just bear in mind, again, this is really to showcase the skills of these players, consider it kind of just an extended practice, if you will, an expanded practice. Really curious to see what we can get out of Dylan Gabriel. I think this is an interesting conversation that if he can come out and line it up, of course, that's going to be a story that just writes itself. I can see it now. But at the end of the day, that's what we're hoping for, is for anybody that's on this roster to do well.
Yeah, and the other thing, just want to give a quick shout out to our new hotel sponsor here in Cleveland, that being the Kimpton Schofield downtown on the corner of 9th and Euclid in downtown Cleveland. Look for some amazing giveaways for 2-night stays if you're coming to Cleveland and you want to stay at a beautiful hotel downtown. Also, maybe look for some events from that wonderful hotel in downtown Cleveland. It's a beautiful hotel, over 100 years old, downtown Cleveland. But if you're looking for a place to come into the game and stay, the folks over at that Schofield will treat you right. It's beautiful hotel. Beautiful.
You can stay there.
And by the way, and as I say, and also Chrissy John Tony, our preferred realtor. If you're in Northeast Ohio looking for investment property or looking to have your home listed, or if you're just looking and driving around in the neighborhoods and you're just looking at house hunting and you want to look for the trusted name in real estate, She's with the EXP group. That's Crystal John Tony. Reach out to her on her socials or message her, and she'll be happy and excited to talk to you. But yeah, lots of things. Here's the thing. It's a good time to be a Browns fan because I really do feel, Allie, last year was kind of if that makes sense, kind of the bottom. We've kind of bottomed out, and I feel like we're starting to escape from the Deshaun Watson's contract. So I think we're 2 first-round draft picks next year. I mean, we are actually projecting in a more positive light going forward. Obviously,
I can see it.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, I think if we were having the same conversation 8 months ago, it's a very different conversation 10 months ago from after this draft, the players we drafted, the excitement around these rookies. We haven't had that in a while. Well, hell, we haven't had this many picks in the draft. But, I mean, there's a lot to be said for that. But I think there's a lot of excitement around this team. I think, for me, I'm excited to see if these guys can become role players and starters with our team.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what this preseason is. Great opportunity to see some of these guys that may be in a limited role for the remainder of the season because, of course, they're young players working their way through the depth chart. Also, before we wrap up, Dustin, why don't you tell our listeners about Lake Erie Distillery?
That's right, guys. Lake Erie Distillery. Like I said, they'll have some great sampling on Lady Caroline. But you know what I'm drinking tonight? I'm drinking some of this nice Burning River with some Coke. And by the way, they are the #1 dill pickle vodka. That's right, dill pickle vodka in Ohio. So check that out. You can pick it up at the distillery or at any of your Northeast Ohio liquor stores. That's right, Lake Erie Distilleries. Go get you some today.
All right, and before we wrap up, we just have to listen to my favorite song one more time.
SOS, I could use a hero right about now. My faith in love is upside down. HERO, where will we all go? SOS, I could use a hero right about now.
Mr. Hero's turning 60. We're proud to have served your favorite cravings for 60 years in celebrating what we do best. Thanks, Ohio.
I crave a hero.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate you. Stay safe, stay healthy. And as always, Browns fans, go Browns.
Go Browns.